They had the information, they had the time, and they understood exactly what would happen next. Not in theory, not as a possibility, but as a consequence. If nothing was done, people would die. If something was done, a secret might be lost. Either way, the cost would be real. This was not an accident. It was not a failure. It was a decision. And Coventry paid the price. Before we go any further, understand this clearly. This story is not about evil men sitting in a dark room. It is not about cruelty. It is about ordinary people placed in a situation where every option was wrong, and where choosing nothing was still a choice. Coventry was not a famous city. It was not London. It was not a capital. It was an industrial city in the heart of England. Factories, workshops, rows of modest houses, people who woke up early, worked long hours, and trusted that someone else was making the decisions that kept them safe. They did not know they were being discussed. They did not know they were being calculated. They did not know they were a possibility. While Coventry slept, another war was being fought. A quiet war. A war of paper, wires, and exhausted minds. Not with guns, but with calculations. At a place called Bletchley Park. Here, British intelligence was attempting something the Germans believed was impossible. They were reading German messages. Messages protected by Enigma, a machine designed to be unbreakable. Millions of possible settings, a system that changed every day. But it was broken. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Breaking Enigma did not give clear answers. It gave fragments, partial messages, patterns, hints. Nothing arrived neatly labeled. Everything required interpretation. And interpretation creates responsibility. This intelligence had a name, Ultra. Ultra was not just valuable, it was fragile. If the Germans suspected their codes were compromised, they would change everything. New machines, new procedures, and Britain would be blind again. Ultra could not defend itself. It could not explain decisions. It could only survive if it remained invisible. In early November 1940, Ultra revealed something alarming. A major Luftwaffe operation was being prepared. Not a routine raid, not harassment, a coordinated attack. Hundreds of bombers, high explosives, incendiaries, an operation designed not just to damage, but to erase a city. The Germans had given it a name, Moonlight Sonata. That name alone was enough to raise alarm. But intelligence does not say this city will be destroyed. It says these conditions match. Several cities matched. Industrial centers, transport hubs, cities that mattered. Coventry was one of them. So was Birmingham. So was London. So was Manchester. Warning everyone was impossible. Warning one city meant exposing how Britain knew. Choosing who to warn meant choosing who to expose. And choosing who to remain silent about meant accepting what might happen. This is where the story stops being distant and starts becoming uncomfortable. Because from this moment on, someone had to decide what kind of deaths were acceptable. Not officially, not in writing, but in practice. Ask yourself this: if you evacuate Coventry and the Germans notice, Ultra may be lost. That does not mean one city burns. It means the war changes, Convoys are sunk. Cities are bombed without warning. Battles are lost before they begin. Thousands die who never needed to. But if you do nothing, Coventry burns. Not eventually, not hypothetically, tonight. This is not a simple dilemma. There is no lever to pull. There is only time running out. And here is the part most documentaries avoid. There was no guarantee evacuation would even work. Moving tens of thousands of people in a matter of hours, at night, during wartime, under blackout conditions. Panic alone could kill hundreds. And if the attack hit another city instead, Ultra would be exposed for nothing. So hesitation took hold, not because they were heartless, but because every option made things worse. Doing something was dangerous, doing nothing was fatal, and neither choice felt defensible. Files moved between offices, reports contradicted each other, assessments disagreed. No one wrote, "Let Coventry burn," but no one wrote, "Save Coventry at all costs" either. And in that silence, inaction became policy. As the evening of November 14th approached, events accelerated. German bombers took off. British radar detected them. Their direction was unclear. For a moment, London seemed likely, then Birmingham, then the formation shifted again. By the time Coventry became obvious, there was no longer a decision to make, only consequences to endure. Sirens sounded, but too late, too briefly. Not enough to evacuate a city, not enough to protect civilians. What followed was methodical. High explosives to shatter roofs and roads, incendiaries to start uncontrollable fires, water mains destroyed, firefighters overwhelmed. For more than 10 hours, Coventry burned. Entire streets disappeared, factories collapsed, homes became firestorms. St. Michael's Cathedral caught fire, its roof collapsed inward. By morning, only the walls remained. More than 500 people were dead, thousands were injured, families erased, lives permanently altered. And yet, the silence continued. Publicly, the explanation was simple. The raid was unexpected. Defenses were overwhelmed. Nothing could have been done. Privately, Ultra survived. Enigma continued to be read. British intelligence kept its advantage. The war continued, and eventually it was won. Years passed, the city was rebuilt, and then the secrets began to surface. Documents were declassified. Historians began asking questions, and a darker interpretation emerged: that Coventry had been sacrificed, that the city was allowed to burn to protect Ultra. It was a powerful accusation, clear, moral, easy to understand. But history resisted simplicity. Records showed confusion, warnings without precision, decisions without certainty. No document ever stated, "Let Coventry burn." There was only evidence of limits, limits of intelligence, limits of time, limits of control. And this is where the story becomes hardest to accept, because the absence of guilt does not remove responsibility. People still made choices. People still decided what risks were acceptable, and those risks were not theirs to bear. Coventry was rebuilt. A new cathedral stands beside the ruins of the old one, not as a replacement, but as a reminder. a reminder that war is not only fought with weapons and strategies, it is fought with decisions, and some decisions cannot be clean. They cannot be heroic. They can only be lived with. So the question remains, not as history, but as a test. If you knew an attack was likely, but not certain, if warning a city might expose a secret that could shorten the war, if silence could save millions later, but doom thousands now, what would you do? Would you act, or would you wait and accept the cost? What would you have done?